about scripting languages, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the choice of the language itself. So it looked like it was written in Rust, but we were talking a bit about Node scripts before.
Yeah, yeah.
I will admit I went down this path a little bit, but I'm not great at Node, so I wasn't really
Yeah.
confident in whatever CLI. I ended up playing a little bit with Go. But what did your development look like? What did
Yeah.
that life cycle look like? Did it start off as Bash? So I think that's where I started, and then ended up with Node and went from there.
Yeah, so obviously it just started with me talking to agent, running a bunch of bash, Python, random node, TypeScript command things it was doing. When I pointed at the spec, I actually pointed at our various SDKs and I just said pick one. And it just chose either randomly the Python SDK or the TypeScript SDK. Ultimately, it converged on the TypeScript SDK for reasons I don't particularly understand why it chose that. I didn't really care, but like from the SDKs are all generated, so like technically they all should work. At that point, like once I started doing that, I was like, oh, okay, well, if I want to like make this portable as an easy install package, sure, I could continue the TypeScript like example it had, but I was looking at like, well, I want to do a bunch of cleanup in what it's doing here. And I originally chose Go. Why Go? Go is just a very popular language here at Datadog internally. And, those tools like GoReleaser out there that make this really easy to package up various ecosystems. So that's how it started. And that worked quite well for some time using our Go SDK that we generate. And at a certain point, though, there became more requests, particularly like for WASM. So some people wanted to embed it in the browser. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's see what the state of Go WASM support is. Well, at the time, it only supported WASI P1, not WASI P2, which actually introduced networking support. And there's, I believe, still ongoing discussions about waiting for the WASI P3 spec and just skipping straight to that. So at that point, I looked at it and said, well, can't support that with that ecosystem right now unless I do some of my own forks there. That wasn't something that I was willing to maintain myself. So at that point, I looked around and say, like, okay, what other options exist that have that portability itself? And that's where, Rust came up to be. It has quite good support for various architectures, including WASM, and supported the WASI P2 spec at that time. And so that was the next extension. And adding that was actually fairly straightforward. Mostly adding a new build target and then dealing with some of the consequences around, things that are not in the WASI P2 spec and just eluding them from the build.
Gotcha. That's super interesting that you ended up on the Rust side. And you mentioned